This is the talk of Music City real estate.
Welcome back to another episode of the Talk of Music City Real Estate,
where we educate and motivate all things real estate.
My name is Monty Moore with Realty One Group Music City.
Hey, and I'm Carey Ann with CMG Financial and my mortgage team.
Every week we'll be posting a new episode chock full of Nashville real estate value.
Yes, and you can follow along and subscribe at talkmusiccity.com.
Got a question for us? Ask away at questions@talkmusiccity.com. That's questions@talkmusiccity.com.
Monty.
Carey Ann.
Guess what?
What?
You are not the tallest man in the room today.
I feel like a shorty here, I gotta say.
And look at me, I'm like, hey. Hey, this is going to be an awesome session.
I went out there to shake our guest's hand, and he kept standing up. And I'm like, holy smokes. Is that how everybody else feels around me?
Yes.
Well, we're so excited. We have Isaiah Mills in the house with us today with RealFlex, a company that I've been working with here now over the last 6 months, and we're excited to share everything about it. And also with the one and the only, Mr. Jason Hoover's in the house as well with us.
Hey. Thank you, Jason.
We get started and talk all things RealFlex, which is going to be a huge tool in your toolbox here.
I am really excited about this because I always want to keep money local if we can. We got something that's real. Everybody's going to want to hear about this.
Absolutely. Let's so grateful for our sponsor. Yes, Music City Removal. They're the #1 junk removal service in Nashville from residential, commercial, and construction. They're experts in ridding you of junk. Their costs include labor and dumping fees without any hidden or added expenses. So whether you need a full clean out or just one item removed, they have you covered.
The Music City Removal team knows the importance of respect and trust in someone else's home. They understand the inconvenience of junk left behind by previous homeowners and tenants and are determined to provide an affordable and customer-focused junk removal service that puts you first. For a free on-site estimate, just go to musiccityremoval.com. That's musiccityremoval.com.
Yes, Music City Removal, because cluttering cute.
Shazam!
It still ain't cute. Unlike you, Carey Ann.
Thinking about the girl from a previous, the clutter lady. I keep looking at my house and going, I need to hire that girl.
She's awesome.
We should just hire Music City Removal and just take it all with them.
Some of our agents have already hired her. She does a great job. That's Nashville Uncluttered or Uncluttered Nashville.
Something like that. Sounds like that. Hey, and she was great. But we have Mr. Isaiah Mills with us today, and RealFlex is the company, and many people are aware of. How would you word the other company? How do you say the other company without saying the other company?
I don't know. I would just say it. I'm 69 years old. I don't have a filter. Blame me, if you want me to say it.
I'm blaming him.
Okay. Most of you know about Ribbon, and Ribbon's been a great company, a great resource, and we love Ribbon.
Yeah.
But what if there was a local company that had a bigger overlay, less restrictions, that could make local decisions? What if that kind of company that did the same thing as Ribbon did was here in Middle Tennessee? Is that a possibility, Carey Ann?
Guess what? It is.
It is possible. I'm really excited about hearing about this because I'm a big advocate of any time you can, suddenly wake up one morning as a real estate professional and have a rich uncle that's willing to buy that customer's house and help them out of a situation where they didn't have the strength that a cash offer has. So I'm real excited about this.
Thank you guys for having me. It's a big honor for me to be here and speak with you guys and Carey Ann, and kind of been working with Carey Ann over the last 6-7 months, from the inception of RealFlex. And just like you said, we acknowledge there's a great company out there in Ribbon and some great things they do on a huge level. We just wanted to bring some locality to that market space and see where we could kind of get in there and apply some flexibility to, what it is we offer for the real estate market.
In today's world, that's only become more and more important.
Yeah.
More and more important.
Well,
and working with Carey Ann, that's such a great tag team. I'll just leave it there. That's such a great tag team.
Well, the situation we're all very familiar is cash is king, right? Or cash is prettier than mortgage right now in the eyes of a seller. And we were utilizing the cash overlay to our first-time home buyers, to our regular folks that are moving up or moving down, right? So they could really shine out there in the marketplace, and also the investor. And And that's one thing that Isaiah and I talked a lot about is, the Ribbon's buy box is in a way that is great. It really helps so many. And the reason they were created is one that has done amazing things for so many people. And so Isaiah came in and opened up that buy box, right? Where maybe one is only at to $750, I think it is. You have a bigger buy box when it comes to a price point. They don't do investors, where you and I have been able to help a lot of investors out there.
I didn't know about that part. That's a big deal.
This is huge.
That's a real big deal.
Yep. And so it may be a situation that we just put the overlay on top of the transaction. So we shine out there in the marketplace when it comes to in a multiple offer situation, and possibly you're all listing agents as well. You may be able to share more. Is it a situation where you see cash and then you put it in the cash, pile, and you see mortgage, you put it in the mortgage pile, and then you work through the cash pile? Is that something that, how does it work as a listing agent?
Well, that's part of it. Go ahead.
Really, we put together a spreadsheet. Because cash isn't going to be the determining factor for everything, and so we put it on a spreadsheet that has every single thing listed out, and then from there we go through with our sellers and discuss what's most important to them and which ones measure up.
Right,
including the experience of the agent, though. Just to as a side note,
communication with the agents.
And I always put, just for the record, I always put the Carey Ann finance deals in the cash side. I'm sorry, I do. I have more confidence in your financing than some cash deals.
But some don't know, right, that relationship. Some don't know, or they just see first-time home buyer. I've heard out there from listing agents, high LTVs mean they don't have enough money just in case if the appraisal doesn't come in or something like that, right? And so they're automatically kind of shifting their view or their look to something that's a little shinier. And so this is where RealFlex comes in to play and gives that flexibility, to the buyer's agent who has an amazing first-time home buyer, who wants to be able to still close, timely, but possibly have that confidence back to the seller, because the seller may not know me. You have confidence in me. Another listing agent possibly sees my name and knows 100%, that I'm going to close on time. But if I'm not, this is where Isaiah comes in with RealFlex and make sure that it closes.
Let's talk about this buy box, Isaiah. So, because again, I'm a big advocate of doing, having tools in your tool belt as a professional. So, because not everything fits every situation.
Right.
But what I see so often is people wish they had this kind of a tool, and they've heard about something maybe, but they didn't become a proficient in the topic until they were trying to at that last hour, and it was too late because they forgot that the people have to buy before they're buying what you're selling, and if you don't have a conviction because you don't understand it. So my point is, I want to understand RealFlex so that I can already have internalized it, so when the need arises, I can say, hey, here's something I think would really fit in this situation.
Sure.
So let's talk about that.
I think with RealFlex, you guys hit the nail on the head earlier that cash is king, right? I don't think anything is ever going to replace cash, but just as you mentioned, that it's not always about, is it a cash offer or is it not? You want to sit down with your agent, you're going to say, or with your clients and say, what is most important to you? And with us, what we're willing to do is reach out to that listing agent or that buyer's agent and say, hey, I just want to take this minute to introduce myself, let you know kind of a little bit about RealFlex, extend that comfort level to them. Hey, we're already working with Carey Ann. These buyers are super strong. Because they've partnered with RealFlex, your deal is guaranteed to close. So that, I think, goes a long way along with listing agents. Eventually, we want it out there that when you see the name RealFlex, that that deal is going to close, short of the house falling in on itself. That deal is going to close.
So your buy box is $1 million. Is that what I heard?
Our buy box is not necessarily limited to the price. That was the biggest niche or the biggest gap that I saw in the space. Ribbon had several different parameters within their buy box: price point, acreage, type of property,
distance from Nashville, location. I mean, we just did one in Lyles. We just did a cash overlay option for $900,000. We don't necessarily limit our buy box to the price. If it makes sense, if the deal makes sense, obviously we're willing to entertain that conversation and try to figure out what's going to create a win-win for everybody involved. So let's get more specific. So, okay, I've got a buyer who has got an FHA deal. It's $400,000 FHA buyer. We've been beating our head against the wall. They don't really have the cash to make a difference. Or so we hear about Real Flex. So what's the conversation at that point?
So at that point, you're going to reach out to me, either the website or just my actual cell phone number. So another good thing, and I'll get back to that, is when you reach out to us, you're speaking directly with me. You're not having to run up several different lines of approval. So mine and your conversation would look something like, hey, your buyers are already pre-approved with Carey Ann. Great. That goes a long way. They are FHA buyers. So what we're able to do is offer our cash overlay option to them to make you more competitive. Once we do get your offer accepted, there is a 90-day flip rule that we can't necessarily close on the property and then sell it back to them within 90 days. So what we do offer is a competitive lease back that we can allow them to go ahead and move in, allow the sellers to go ahead and get their property sold and continue on with their timeline, allow the buyers to move in, and then get them on a lease back program so that they can get refinanced 91 days later.
What if the seller, what if one thing that's real popular out there right now is giving the seller a chance to have a few days to a month or two to move out? Is that a problem?
No, not at all. No, we're willing to, it's kind of.
That's a big deal, by the way.
Yes, and it's kind of a double-edged sword for us as a business model. So the whole premise of Real Flex is that we're as flexible as we need to be in order to look at each situation. So it's kind of a double-edged sword for us, and it creates a little bit of vagueness with a real precise business model. So to answer your question, that's not a problem. We're just going to vet each situation on a case-by-case basis.
Yeah, and we're talking if we did the cash overlay, we don't probably want to shine that too much within the lending institution because, they're required to be moved in by a certain time frame,
right,
when it comes to that too. Right. So, I mean, I guess we, like you said, you just want to work through
normally it's just
problem.
A week or something like that, but there's some companies that don't let any sort of overlay happen like that.
And again, the highlight of his company is it's Real Flex, so flexibility, right? And similar to the training I did earlier, like even for mortgages, it's looking at every scenario in a way that shows that the borrower has the ability to repay. Then I'm going to allow for that, even if the credit score is blank or blank, right? There's not very specific, requirements when it comes to some of that stuff. So that's a huge win. I mean, we've been able to help a first-time home buyer to an investor to, like he said, just this person who wanted to sell his house in Brentwood but needed to sell his home before he purchased. So it was just a 30-day window, that he needed, but this was the house, and even in that situation, following the lead of the buyer on how much he wanted to offer, he wasn't able to win that transaction. So it wasn't because it was Real Flex. He just didn't want to go over the counter. He didn't want to accept the counter. I think that's what ended up happening with that transaction.
So let's talk about costs, Isaiah. Tell me do you have the option of just making it appear like a cash offer and not having to close on it? Is that a different than if you actually close on it, or do you only close on them? I mean, let's talk about the nitty gritty here. Yeah,
we absolutely want to convey that if we're going to associate our name with the offer, that we are going to close on it. We never want to come across as this is just fake cash. Don't have any real personal issues with the wholesaling world. However, that is a thing. And that's just me being real about it. It's just I don't ever want to convey hey, we're going to put our cash up for this deal and then not follow through and not close on it. I never want that to come across. So if we're associating our name with it, we're going to close on it.
Right.
Good. So what are the costs to the buyer?
Yeah, so we have a 1% rule or a 1% fee that we just use for our cash offer overlay. And all that is we're going to take our cash buying power and set that on top of your buyer's existing offer and charge a 1% fee.
And we usually cover 50% of that, with the relationship that we have. So that's kind of the power there. Yeah.
Okay.
In the event that we actually do have to close on it and use our funds to close on the property, then that fee goes up to a 3% fee of the purchase price. Okay. It never gets any more expensive than 3%, so we're not in the business to tack on additional fees, so on and so forth. So the most the buyers ever want to pay is a 3% service fee to us outside of any type of lease agreement or things of that nature that we work out after closing.
And so I know your goal isn't to become a landlord, but how long do you allow them to then be able to turn around and purchase the property? Is there a window that you're allowing?
We're entertaining up to 12 months.
Wow.
We're willing to hold that, especially if the property is a great property. We're willing to hold that situation for up to 12 months. And again, this is going back to making sure that it's vetted really well through Carey Ann and her team. So on, if she blesses it with the buyer's kind of qualifications, then that definitely goes a long way. Her and I have a text phone relationship that she can say, hey, this is this type of situation and this deal is really solid. They just may have fell on a little hard times with income, or their credit got dinged at the last minute. They need 60 extra days, or they need 90 extra days. Can you make this happen? So
there was another one though we talked through and made a decision that it wasn't the right move either. Like there's some transactions that just don't make sense. I think that's key. There was other transaction that because of our partnership, he sent the buyer over for me to vet it, and I actually approved them.
Yeah,
and he didn't even have to get in the middle of it. I closed it, the 7 days later.
Yeah, so
8 days actually. Yeah.
Does he get a thank you dinner or something?
He did. Yes. Yeah.
That's another form of the double-edged sword. So I'm over here, cash is king, but I've also partnered with a powerhouse over here.
Yeah.
So one of the best.
We never forget our relationships, that's for sure. But what I'm getting at is it still worked in his favor, meaning it kept it moving. And there's a lot of opportunity for, as real estate agents, to think about investors, right? To think about why does an investor have to totally pay cash 100%? An investor possibly is comfortable with the numbers that he's talking about because they're just looking to get in, and buy some freedom on their own line, possibly, and so there's a lot of uniqueness that can be done. I was helping another client yesterday, and we lost out on another transaction, and I said, have you heard about RealFlex? And she didn't. So that's now becoming a conversation that we're going to continue to have, because those cash overlays, I think, is something that we should already think about, right? We should already program the borrower to understand that with us, it's only 0.5%, and again, we're going to position the timing enough that we can make sure that I can close it.
Sure.
So it only costs the borrower, that 1%, because if he does take it on, it jumps to the 3. A little different with Ribbon from RealFlex. So when it comes to the 3% hit, when do you collect that? So with Ribbon, they make that to be their earnest money, the 3%, or their fee, I think, is a little bit less. But again, you pay for the being local, you pay for the speed, you pay for, the guarantee and the confidence there. How do you, if we have to go in the different direction, when do you collect the 3%?
Just at closing. We're not going to require the full 3% to be put down in earnest money. Let's face it, it's $900,000 or $600,000 property at 3%. That's a pretty hefty earnest money. We typically, coming from a real estate world, 1% usually is a general rule, or if you're trying to make it really attractive, a little bit more than that for earnest money. So we're just going to collect that at closing whenever the buyer actually closes with their traditional financing.
That's huge.
I think one thing that a lot of agents forget is they get excited about how much more than asking price or appraised value should somebody offer on the house. And that's cool, but if they're not thinking about, well, let's compare that to 3%, versus jacking the price up $100,000. The people who bought our house, as an example, they paid $250,000 more so they could win the deal. It wasn't a cash offer; it was a finance deal without an appraisal. But my point is, we need to make sure we're doing the math in some situations rather than jack up the price, because they're trying to win the deal. Instead, they'd be better off to pay that 3% and be a cash deal, a cash offer.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and again, the other relationship that we have too is refinancing out. There's different options when he does have to jump in, and assist, which actually sets the buyer up in a better position, I think, later on in their life with that particular mortgage. So I think it's a great win. This is the way we got to be thinking different. We got to be acting different, this year. Again, possibly we did that a little bit last year, but the inventory is even more, tight nowadays, I think. And this cash overlay, if we have a veteran, it's just, I want to help that veteran utilize the benefit that he or she works so hard to have. And a lot of agents the listing agent and or the seller see a VA loan and just think bad. It just went to bad. They forget that they fought for our freedoms, that they should not see bad. They should see a good thing. But adding, the RealFlex overlay to that is a huge win. It definitely allows that transaction to shine out there in the marketplace. So timing too, when it comes to us doing an overlay, you still probably want to do that 2.5 week window, even though he can close faster, right? So if you're not using me to do the financing, we make a decision that it is best that you close on it. You had one transaction that closed really fast.
Yeah, we got the initial notification that there was a deal kind of in jeopardy that was falling apart, and it was like you said earlier, falling fast.
Yeah,
it was deteriorating pretty quickly. So I think that was around December 10th. We ended up closing and keeping the deal together by December 13th.
Right.
So, yeah, it was a really quick turnaround.
It's pretty quick.
But that's important because I had to tell him quickly, this is how long I need you to hold this. And, it's important that everybody is working, together to make sure that we know what transactions need to happen. So
a lot of moving parts in there behind.
So Isaiah, how do people get a hold of you? I know there's going to be a bunch of agents who want to do so because they want to empower their clients. How do they reach you?
The best way is just the website. It's www.real-flex.com.
Real-flex.com.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the best way to get a hold of me. The email that you send or the contact us form, we don't, auto-populate an auto bot to speak to you on there. It's going to come to my cell phone. So at 10 o'clock at night when you're surfing the internet and you decide that you want to use RealFlex as a tool in your tool belt, then I'm going to get a text message that says, hey, Monty's searching your website. This is what he's looking for. How can you help?
So just to make sure that our agents are prepared, they need to go on this site and register first, or register their clients first, or is there any sort of prep work done to make sure they're ready for action?
We're just going to vet each one of those situations and clients. I know there's a very robust software program with other companies that they're going to have you on board and input your client's information. And coming from the real estate world, I value the security that agents have with their clients. So I allow the agents just to reach out directly to me on the website, and then we're going to talk about how the situation is. If they're not already working with Carey Ann, I'm going to require that and kind of push in that direction. Because it does go a long way with our company.
Right. That's kind of the ticket for your confidence that this deal is real.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I get that. I'm excited about it. So real quick cap again is on your buy box. Excuse me, as somewhere around $1 million. It's not a hard number.
Correct.
But if it makes sense, you're willing to go all over Middle Tennessee, not just right around Nashville.
Correct.
You're willing to have a property with land, not just restricted to no more than X number of size lot. You charge 1% if you don't have to actually close on it, but you brought your muscle to town. Okay, and your size 16s. Did you say 16s?
Roughly, yeah.
and we cover half of that for them.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Or if you do close on it, it's 3%.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, and to me, trading 3% for a cash buyer when it's needed. I do want to put a plug in for that veteran you were talking about, Carey Ann. Anytime I'm looking at multiple offers, no offense to the investors, and I'm glad you work with investors as well, but anytime I can put a homeowner in a neighborhood, I know long term, don't you, Jason?
Yes.
Long term, that's a better investment. Okay.
Yeah.
Because we've got a homeowner there, not somebody who's putting a tenant in or flipping one. And again, I've been in all areas, but I'm just saying I try to lean towards not just the homeowner, but especially the veteran.
And also, where some do a rent box back no more than 6 months, there's flexibility up to 12 months if it makes sense. So, bringing the flexibility back into real estate, that's really what's key, and grateful for our partnership. We've been able to help a lot of families and excited to continue to do that as we approach 2022 here.
Well, we're going to share this video with everybody, Isaiah. I'm excited about what you're doing here. I just think it's, in today's world, I've been doing this a long time. In today's world, you got to have every extra tool in your tool belt that makes sense. And this truly makes sense.
We just want to be a really, really powerful resource for people. We're not expecting to, be the superhero for every deal, because just as mentioned earlier, it's not going to fix every single deal, but as the market gets more and more competitive with agents, I think that they need to have every tool that they can at their disposal.
Especially if your buyers have the financing, right? I mean, that's the best option for them is mortgage financing. This is a great overlay for that. And
Seem like quite the tag team, don't they, Jason?
Absolutely.
I'm so grateful. He called me that one day and said he had an idea, and it just kind of bloomed from there. And I'm just grateful for the opportunity. So thank you.
Well, the pleasure's ours. It was kind of an idea in my head. I ran it through, all the filters inside my self-confidence and inside my head. I said, no, this will never work. And then I kind of put it in front of a couple different people, and they said, no, you're crazy. And and then, just out of nowhere, I was talking with my wife, and she said, who you need to reach out to is Carey Ann. She does a lot of business, and her core values are very much in line with us, that integrity first, and we're never going to jeopardize our integrity for financial gain. So it was just kind of,
love that.
It was a great relationship off the rip.
I love that.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, thank you so much for being here, Isaiah. Again, real-flex.com is where you can check it out. Grateful for everybody who joined us. Look forward to seeing you next week. You've been listening to The Talk of Music City Real Estate.